This podcast starts now.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. I am one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Pretty good, man. We're just
Good.
talking about some shows that we like a lot.
With COVID, it's amazing. I'm not I'm not a movie watcher or TV watcher or anything like that, but COVID is creating a very interesting moment.
You watched
where I'm
a lot of the
watching
Game
bunch
of Thrones, right? So,
oh yeah, I watched Game of Thrones. So we're talking about The Last Kingdom, and I know it came out a while ago. I think it did, and I'm just now catching up to it.
it's pretty good. Really good.
Yeah,
I've watched
I'm
all
impressed.
the seasons.
Do you know the term sword and sandal movies?
No, but I think I can get the context there.
Yeah, so it's all like Roman type movies,
Yeah.
like Spartacus and
I love those movies.
Ben-Hur, and they call them sword and sandal movies. And I used to love every single one of them.
Yeah, me too.
And I guess this is kind of, like The Last Kingdom and Vikings you had mentioned. They're kind of like
Vikings is excellent.
an upgraded version of it. So I'm tired.
Staying up too
Until
long.
1 o'clock last night watching the damn show.
Well, I remember, the shows get up and running and you start getting really into it, and it's hard not to binge watch. I remember back in the day when The Sopranos first came out, I'd binge
love
watch
Sopranos.
I think I watched all 8 seasons or whatever within 3 months, and I would do it. I'd get home from work, watch 2 or 3 episodes, eat, go to sleep, go to work, come back home, watch another few episodes. I had a roommate then, and she would do it with me, and I'm like, oh my god, you know what? And I was like, do you have off this whole weekend? Let's go watch, like 8 episodes. They were an hour long, like it was just
Yeah, that's the problem. They're an hour, so it's an investment.
yeah, it is.
And I like the 30-minute shows. Like the other ones I'm watching are Shameless, which I'm barely catching up on.
I see
Everybody's
most of
talks
those,
about.
not all of them.
And they're pretty. I mean, talk about dysfunctional family. That is pretty crazy stuff.
But it's pretty good.
It is, but it's kind of weird because there's not to get too personal, but there's some of those aspects of my life in my background. I'm like, oh yeah, I could relate to some of that craziness.
Do tell. All right. Well, I guess community
so
stuff
it's
is
kind of
probably-
cathartic, I guess, is the best way to say it. Some of that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But alas, so sir, today is your last day.
Yeah. Today's my last day at Imperva. I think.
Yeah,
we
I should
talked a
probably
little
say
bit
your
of-
last day for Imperva.
Yeah. I'm ready to go to Reltio and start their community from scratch, and we'll see. I mean, look, it's my first day is on the 21st or whatever.
Yeah, I cannot believe you're just having a weekend and you're just
I
gonna.
know.
So pre-show,
always-
we're talking about like, dude, it's like the last 2 weeks of the year. Everybody takes that off.
I know. I thought about it, especially after it was all said and done. I thought I should have taken the last 2 weeks off.
You should have.
But it won't be extremely busy anyways. I'll have some conversations, I'm sure, here and there with some people to give me some time to kind of prepare, a PowerPoint or two to think about, why is community important, some things that we could accomplish, and to give me some good talking points with the new people, the new leaders,
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Now, where are they
that's what I'll be
based?
doing. They're in California, in the Bay Area,
Oh, okay.
but they're kind of a very virtual team. So my boss is going to live in Sacramento. Some people live in Ohio. Some people live on the East Coast. Some people
Yeah.
live in the Bay. So
Yeah.
it's very diverse. And there's a office in Russia, Moscow, I think. There's a office in one in India. I forget. I don't know if it's Dubai or I can't remember. And then they have one in London. So I don't know what their plans are to expand. But anyways, what have you been up to? I mean, I remember you telling me that this is kind of a really busy time for you, even kind of during the holidays. It actually ramps up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
It does.
true or?
Yeah, it does. And And so we kind of run a little bit like the retail schedule, where
Hmm.
the retail schedule is like any updates or changes you're going to do on a website have to be done before the beginning of fourth quarter, so that you freeze the sites so that you can create a very stable e-commerce environment.
Yeah.
Somewhat the same way. So we pushed out our latest update at the beginning of November, and we pretty much have frozen all of our development until afterwards. So our biggest flow right now are, for any financial institution, is around checking your balances and
Yeah.
what's happening and moving money around. A lot of money movement, lots and lots of money movement. I think not to bring it downer, but one of the one of the things that I have been able to see that I have not had in my career is how much the macroeconomy affects. So, I've spent a lot of my career in either in the semiconductor space,
Yeah.
high tech, or in industrial, and those were always lagging indicators of the economy. So, not until time occurred, then you saw the slowdown in inventory and blah 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 blah. And then it's the other way around when it's on the pickup. This one is front end of the of it. So we see a lot of distress, right? So we and they're hard things to hear, right? So like we'll hear, and so it's part of, like, for example, the credit card department. Whilst it's not necessarily e-commerce, but it's a cashless thing,
Yeah.
piece. So for the moment, that's under me. And so you get people just, they will, without of course naming names, but it's to hear some of the
Well known.
stuff like, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to make a payment this month, right?
Yeah.
Or where people are bouncing checks and can't quite get the timing right, or we've been having folks who will, and I am always amazed. We have talked about, I think it was with you, where I have been so amazed on how people can take a lot of their smart and intellectualism and apply that for evil just as well as they can apply it for good.
Yeah, that's right.
And the amount of time an individual goes to, you know, working the system to
Yeah.
you edge out maybe an extra few dollars, or, maybe even as much as 1,000 or whatever. I'm like, man, if you put that much effort into other stuff,
A lot of effort. If I do this, if I write a check and I don't do it, look, I think writing checks now, the money comes out pretty immediate, right? So,
it's pretty much next day. Yeah.
but back then, back in, you know, 15, 20 years ago, you write a check and you could float it for, you know,
Yeah.
uh, 10 days or 7 days, whatever that number was. I don't know. But so you're just doing all that planning to make sure that and just think, how many checks are you writing in a week? And so it's like, okay, I'm going to have this much money here. And if you actually apply some of those smarts, it's not like these people aren't smart. They just apply it in the wrong ways. So,
Yeah. So we've been seeing a lot of that going on. So we have to keep our eyes. So it's a big, long story to kind of say there are kind of various areas we keep our eyes on. One is the amount of money that's being transferred back and forth. Two, that a lot of my team's efforts are around making sure the everything is kept honest and ship shape, and we see a lot of those things. We immediately highlight it. And then three, in this particular pandemic, we've just seen a lot of. You start to see a bit of the hardship, and it's hard to hear,
yeah.
and they, it's, I, and you and I are very much in a, not to get to this kind of bit on the podcast, but we're in a very lucky position, right? That we're able to do this stuff. We get to talk about technology and fun things, and whereas there are a lot of people right now who are going through some really tough times, and that's what I've been seeing a lot recently. And who knows if that's what it is, that I have my brain right now centered around, feeling grateful and being in a good spot, making sure, I'm just hoping everybody's okay.
Yeah. My wife and I talk about that all the time. We feel lucky, we're blessed. I mean, but at the same time, we work our asses off to get where we are.
Yeah, my girlfriend says the same thing too. I tell her the same thing. about how, hey, we should spend some time just saying thank you, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we kind of do the big kind of deep breath in, and we go, you're right. But then she'll go, but dude, I worked my ass off for some of this stuff. And I say, you're right. For a good portion of our career, we have worked very hard
Yeah.
so that we didn't have to be in this position, right? And
That's
that's
right.
good.
I mean,
Um,
I never want to be. Look, I was poor when growing up, and
yeah,
all into my 20s, pretty much, and you know, uh, I don't want to be there again. And so I try to make those smart decisions. Now, look, I'm not saying that you're right. I mean, I feel bad for those, especially in these days of coronavirus, right? Like, I feel blessed because I do have a job, and hopefully I continue to have these jobs, and you get to see a lot of that. Do you see, like, I know that you came to the bank though, during the coronavirus, but are you hearing or have you seen any kind of changes from like last year to this year, or what's kind of the
yeah, huge difference. In fact, it's quite almost apropos to our discussion. In fact, I had just sent out um, an update to my boss, the CEO, and kind of rest of my executive colleagues to show how much coronavirus has kind of changed the way and behavior our customers are responding to financial. And my kind of short end thesis was centered around we must, in short order, change the way we behave because this is now probably going to be the future. So, to give you some context, we saw, and this aligns up with industry data that I've seen. Industry data is showing that around 50 to 60% of what we call traditional in branch type of activities have shifted online, which makes sense, right? If can't go in the branch, well, you
really
have to go
surprised me?
online, right?
Yep.
And
But especially
companies,
for your demographics. I mean, this is huge.
yeah, it's huge, and especially for around here, my demographics. What's the challenge is we have a lot of older
Yep.
folks, and in the area of the country that we're in, it tends to be an economically disadvantaged area. So folks don't have ready access to the latest phones and they don't have computers. And yes, the branch is a physical location where they can go do those things. The fact that we saw, somewhere around 50 to, I think it was I think for like deposits to go online, generally it was like a 50% increase. It was a doubling, 50% increase
For
from,
your bank or just
yeah.
overall
So
data.
we saw it, and it's just like
Wow.
February came and it was like a pop and it popped again in March, and it's kind of remained that steady upward climb. And the steady upward climb is interesting because, again, it is very much what's happening in the industry, which even though we've had kind of waves in COVID, folks have returned to restaurants during the summer, they kind of
Yeah.
retreated, all this kind of stuff. We never saw a retreat. And in fact, we saw an increase. And of course, with the latest spike, the increase only increases, right? Which means
Well,
great.
it's going to increase all of next year as well.
It'll keep on going. And therefore, the end of as I said, the short end thesis was, so now what? Now there's soon, hopefully in the next 4 to 5 months, life will slowly start to return. What about the behavior of our online customers? We've attracted a new audience. Um, Probably, at least from my position, a little bit late to the game on how we can affect it now. But my team has been very focused on at least creating an improved experience so that we can maintain that loyalty over
Does it
time.
accelerate anything? I would assume.
Yeah, so we've accelerated a lot of stuff. So some of the stuff we've accelerated are around things you had to go in the branch to do.
Hmm.
So, if you came to the branch, if you wanted to, you know, and it's funny, again, I compare it to the fact that there are some big banks that can do this because they have a huge development team.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're a Chase or Wells Fargo or Bank of America customer, you can go onto your online banking and say, yes, I'd like a new debit card. Sure, click, 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 click. A lot of financial institutions outside of that can't do that unless you're a fintech. Fintech will do that too. So you'd have to go into the branch and get a new debit card. So things like that are now online. We've done a lot of those requests online
Okay.
using secure forms, using kind of the DocuSign has a particular technology that allow for us to do that. We'd have to set up kind of like some near-term processes so that we can handle it, and then we'll kind of work in kind of backfill
Automation
the
and
process, right?
whatever.
Automation stuff. We had to pull in an upgrade for online banking into this year. We upgraded our mobile deposit activities, what we had slated for last year. We've accelerated that. And just, I think part of the thing that's really good is the thinking internally of saying, hey, we should probably change the way we do, you name it, right? Because I
Yeah.
think a lot of folks are starting to think that way. The other thing too, and I don't think it's a secret, I think every bank is thinking about this, is that what does the branch of the future look like? And it goes, and there's some really good research, and I don't mean to be so pedantic about it, that
No,
Chase has
it's
been
good.
doing.
Yep.
Chase has been doing some really good work around what does the branch of the future look like. And guess what? It looks like an Apple store. So if you go inside the Chase headquarters in New York, they have redone that to be like the branch of the future, and it's slick, it's fancy, it's modern, it's there aren't really any people in there. The I hate to say these words, but the I won't even say the word teller. I'll just say the things you used to walk up to the bench for to get money are now done by machines. And uh, the folks who are there, it's almost like it feels like a Apple store where they walk up to you and say, and have an iPad, what can I help you with today? We'll just walk over to our bar,
Yeah.
it feels that way. Like, here's the loans bar, or here's the mortgage bar, it's kind of
It's
funny.
all about self-help, my friend.
It's self-help. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of that. Or they've kind of taken a lot of the roles that had been separated by different people and kind of merged them into one.
Yeah.
And they kind of direct them. Eventually, at some point, you get directed to either a technology endpoint, like an iPad or something like that, or you get your answers and then you're going to leave home to go do that application online or whatever that may be, which is kind of interesting.
Seems like you could just get the answers online when you go home.
Well, this is the whole thing, right? So part of the thing, and again, I don't mean to go on it because I've been having these discussions internally, because we tend to go for the shiny object, right?
Hmm.
The shiny object is, ooh, maybe this is a moment, and mind you, this is not just us. This is a lot of people in the industry. Let's redo the branch. Let's take this moment to put in machines, and I'll put air quotes over machines, and then people can use those machines, and it will really increase our satisfaction scores.
Hmm.
Because lines will go away, right? We have all these machines. You can now just walk up to a machine and do your work. The challenge there is that you've had a lot of people who have been accustomed to getting somebody.
Yeah.
And think about your experience over a phone. Press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, and then just imagine how many times you go, operator, operator, operator. You want to talk to somebody.
Yep.
So the argument I've been making, I hate to say we're arguing, but the thing I've been really emphasizing is that you're going from people to know people very quick without a transition.
Well, you also have to look at your audience too. I mean, if they're a bunch of old people or uneducated, I say even uneducated people, that are young can figure it all out, but
Yeah, I call it.
older people,
I call it kind of. It's more of a low technology users.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's going to figure out the technology, but you probably have a huge audience that uh, older that just, I mean, I remember hearing the story about, they this one bank, my wife's sister, she worked at a bank in Beaumont, Texas. So you can imagine the demographics there, very similar in some ways, especially from an older audience.
Yeah,
And
totally.
they had to change out the ATM cards or Visa card, whatever it was.
Yep, yep, yep.
So they send it out, and they come back with their computers and their ATM. I can't do this. I can't even, like, I didn't order this. I don't want this. Well, no, that's your ATM card. I mean, it gives some step by step stuff.
Seriously,
Doesn't matter.
seriously.
And then they're like, hey, I'm trying to get, some people bring in their laptop. I'm trying to get online here. And it's like, well, I can't help you get online on
here
your computer because
because
we
you're
can't
not
give you
online
access to.
here.
Yeah. So she's telling us all these crazy stories, and I'm like, people are literally not up to date, at that level about technology, and so it's a real thing, right? Like it's not like it's not happening because it happens every day. Yeah,
No, it
it's just
is. You bring a very good point. We've had we talk about our old boss and my mentor, Devashish, and one of the things he talks a lot about is this idea of the curse of knowledge. And you and I
mm.
have the curse of knowledge.
Oh, absolutely.
We work with technology every day. Talk about it here
Yeah,
and how much it can change uh, customers' lives and experience. But man, that is a small segment
it is.
of a lot of
It
people.
is.
And that is what I have. Talk about humbling, and being here, coming in with some like these great ideas, these thoughts, and like, yeah, we can do blah 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 blah. And I told you almost like almost in the summer, I'm having to spend some time taking it here to here, like going from high to low. In other words, okay, let's start from the beginning. This is how we make a computer. That kind of stuff. I don't mean to
Mhm.
be kind of
Well,
insulting.
things will eventually go fast for you, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you do have to invest in that time, which
Yeah,
creates some
I
patience.
agree.
But we've talked about this too. Is the more I invest in that upfront,
Yeah.
it'll pay off for me later. So that's what's
Yeah.
kind of happening as well. But boy, I don't know if the word is unprepared.
You didn't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, but I talk about this kind of like thinking back in Rexel. One of the things I've learned in that experience was not to take my, you know, ego, hubristic view. In other words,
yeah.
I know it all. All I'll have to do is just erase some names and put in what I think is here. I did that at Rexel, and it created some challenge in the beginning. So in this
It's a
engagement,
very
I'm
good
trying
point.
to check my ego and just say, hey, yes, you've done this before. This is how it is. You need to listen a lot, and you may have to take whatever you thought was what it's supposed to be and put in the trash. Start again. I
Well,
haven't put
some
in the
of it.
trash, but what I did is I put it over here.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. The things that you're doing specifically uh, is all kind of digital focus, and even smart people. I say smart people, even people that understand a lot of really, maybe not digital, but they understand how to use technology. When you have to go build it, like an e-commerce kind of team, a digital team, people aren't up to speed with hardly any of the terminology stuff is. When I got at Rexel, I think I was pretty smart about technology in general, but I never built anything online. So this digital marketing concept of SEO, of paid search, and email marketing, which I knew that was there, but I did, all these people have these specific roles and responsibilities that
Mm,
you're like, oh, okay. And when I got to Imperva, there's PMMs, which is product marketing managers that focus in on specific products from on a marketing
mm.
standpoint, and all these terms
It's like
that,
these roles and people.
yeah, and it's pretty complicated. It's the same though when community. People think they know what community is, and they don't. And so, no, I'm
No,
serious.
I
Like
agree. I
when you think
agree.
of, like, one time I was talking to this person about,
We do outreach. We do community outreach. Oh my god.
no, yeah, I was talking about SEO, and this person goes, "Well, isn't that just for bringing in new business?" I was like, "No." I was like, "You do bring new business in through digital for SEO, which is helpful, and that is one big benefit." I was like, "But who isn't searching on Google for an answer to something, right?" And I
Yeah.
say, it's common sense, and it's not common sense actually, but to me it's common sense that people are going imperva damn something, you know what I mean? Like, they're typing in your product, and if you don't have the answer to that um, uh, product
Yeah.
question, you
Yep.
lose.
Yeah.
And the
That's
other thing
what
I
my
say
phrase
is,
would say, right? He or she who answers your question first wins.
you don't win, actually, it's just expected. So if you don't have it, then you lose, because now they got to go all these different places to try to find the answer. But if you do have the answer, okay, good, I got the answer, and they move on. Right? It's not, oh my God, I love Imperfect because you have the answer. No, it's just
Yeah,
it's
but
fine.
that creates a positive loop, right? So okay,
Over time it does
yeah.
if you
Well, that's what it's like.
continue
That's
to
what
have that. I agree. So it builds
too.
upon. So the way I kind of explain it is, if you have the answer several times, then maybe they'll go into your community, and because
Yeah,
they're getting
yeah, yeah,
answers from your
yeah,
community or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I think that that whole my point is that digital is hard to understand, and it's really hard to build, um, and because there's so much expertise that you have. I mean, just think about like all the things that you and I've done at Rexel, and the things I'm doing at Improvement, and the things that you're going to be doing here very shortly, and have probably already done, working with the development teams to learn their lingo and understand, what API connects to what,
Mhm,
uh, and 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 getting the right people in the right places to make sure that your technical people in the right things to make sure that this happens. You have to
mhm.
have that vision to then say, now it's doing all these things,
Yeah.
and then you have to bring all those right people there. That, my friend, when I was at Rexel, was just daunting. You know, um, it prepared me very well, luckily, and but I remember the experience, and I just remember Dev was just wondering about certain things. I was like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I told him, I go, I'm just trying to understand what you're talking about. Like,
I'm just trying to get through tomorrow.
yeah, I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. I'm just talking to people, and they're,
What do you
you
do?
know,
But you have to go
so
through those kind of large enterprise type environments
yeah,
to get to get to get a firm understanding, right? And it is kind of fun to take that knowledge and then kind
absolutely,
of go bottom up with another company, and then you
yes,
have like these two views, right? Uh, and I love working for and with small cap or even just starting in businesses because
it's fun.
decisions are made very quickly. They're apt to try everything. Everyone's excited to do something.
Yeah.
So it's just a great stuff. Almost full circle, sir. You're gonna have a good fun doing new and great things. And
Yeah, it seems to be what I like and pretty good at again. But I'm really excited about what you're going to do as the VP of e-commerce at this bank. So we have to get into, over time, this kind of digital thing that you're doing, working on. What are you trying to create, and how is it coming together? Because we can get in the ins and outs of, you know, employee roles. We can get in the ins and outs of, what's kind of the focus that you're on now, and what do you want to build, and what are you trying to get to? You know, I mean, it's anything digital is in my mind on these podcasts is up for discussion because, I want to bring in people that, aren't just in community, which is we can continue to do, but people at your level, that we can have those high level conversations, VPs of e-commerce or digital, or VP of digital marketing type people, or even CEOs, and how they're thinking about digital transformation and what that means within their organizations. You
mm,
know,
yeah,
that's
oh
those
yeah,
are the things I
we
want to
do
get
some stuff like
into.
that because funny thing right now I'm pulsing right now is our and we'll won't talk about this now because we're running out of time, but is redoing our call center.
Yeah.
And I won't get into it now, but I think I talked a little bit before it. But it's just one of the things I've learned recently is the numbers and metrics and how people are measured really do create a behavior. And when I read recently how metrics were done for that department, I was like, okay, now I get it.
Hmm. I like that idea. Is we don't talk a lot about data, but that's those are the key reasons why you can do digital. Is you can easily, I say easily, but you can track and understand the data, and then change directions because of what the data is telling you, and all these things about
Yeah.
customers. So, and the last thing is, I'm interested over time to see how Google really, uh, you know, Google's in all these lawsuits. What does that mean for the future of search engines and all these kinds of things, right? Nothing changes today, but maybe in 5 years or 6 years, who
Yeah,
knows?
exactly. I think in 5 years, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's going to change. Hey, well,
Probably
anyway,
not.
we can go into it. But, uh,
So,
it's kind of one of those things that are just burnt into the psyche. Google, you know.
no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
you never know.
Well, Chris, will be our Christmas edition, so you have a wonderful holiday. Well, I think we have one more next week, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to change it because Friday is
Christmas, right?
Christmas, and so if we do it, we'll probably need to do it like Wednesday or something.
Maybe so. Yeah. And I'll be out that day, but so I'll be able to do it. Maybe I'll actually have a beer that time.
You know,
For the
why
evening.
not?
Why
I
not?
will too. Let's do it. And I mean, we have a video that we don't right now post on YouTube, but it's something I've been thinking about. So,
Yeah, it gets really choppy on my side. I don't know if it's clear on your side, but
oh, it does. No, it's
yeah.
not choppy on my side. I mean, you look
Yeah,
fine.
I look clear. You look choppy,
Really?
but I'm sure you look clear on your side. I don't appear choppy.
No,
Well,
not at
it
all.
could be just my bandwidth here. But anyway, it is what it
Yeah.
is.
All right.
Well, Chris, you have a good one. Thank you so very much. Thank you for another great episode with Peers Over Beers. My name is Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
All right, you guys have a good one. Take care.
All right.